Hey everyone, it's Sutoku, and today's video is a fully kitted and cured tutorial on how to improve your aim fast so that you can hit your desired rank in no time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and the question of the day is, how did Finka get that scar on her cheek? Let's dig in. Sensitivity is a make or break in any competitive game that you decide that you're going to play and will be a deciding factor in your rank as well as your status as a player. I will show examples of what a sense that's too fast and a sense that's too slow looks like. Off here with the sensitivity that's too fast. I'm not going to crank it all the way up to 100 like a lot of people might, but I think it's just too exaggerative and doesn't really give you an idea of what we're looking at. So we're going to go 3 times as fast, roughly 2.5 times of what my original sensitivity is. And here you're going to be able to see just how difficult it can be to control the recoil and or make micro adjustments, things that are important while you're playing the game. Here I'm like absolutely whiffing, and it can be detrimental if this were, let's say, in a game. This can mess with things like your crosshair placement, your consistency as a player, and all kinds of other things. So now we're going to go down to a slow sense. We're not going to do any crazy or major adjustments just because it doesn't take that much for you guys to notice the difference. Number one, it's really hard to control recoil and keep your crosshair at a consistent spot. It can also be really hard to flick or make any major adjustments while you're playing. So here I'm showing you guys kind of what I do to get used to any sensitivity that I end up trying, whether you swap them, whether you're figuring yours out. I always flick between these 3 windows here, getting used to the vertical and the horizontal sense. And you're not really looking so much for speed, but mainly accuracy and getting comfortable with what you're doing. Having a consistent sensitivity will also help things like recoil control, as you're about to see, and a ton of other things like being able to swing angles with confidence and things of that nature, which we'll get into later in the video. Crosshair placement is a very important mechanic to learn in Siege, considering it only takes one headshot to kill somebody. Consider this. You headshot somebody, but they were aiming a little too low to hit your head. Who's going to win that fight? I think the winner is quite clear, and it's important not to overshadow how it can affect and will affect your aim and consistency as a player. Here you guys can see me just showing you the different angles as well as what those crosshair placement like areas should be and how you guys can positively affect yours. Here's an example of how easy it is when you just immediately headshot somebody in Siege. The round's already over, it wasn't a very long round whatsoever, and they really didn't have much of a time to react or counteract. And even if they did, it really wouldn't have mattered. I recommend just doing the aim training guide on the far right of the stadium, and as you can see, I'm just going for headshots here with the pistol and being as accurate as possible. You guys don't have to do it the way I'm doing it right now. Whatever makes you guys feel the most comfortable while you're playing, I would recommend doing. This is just how I do it, and it just gets me the most, I would say, not only warmed up, but accurate as possible, considering the training dummies are the exact height of other players. Though, like I said, I always recommend doing whatever you guys feel most comfortable with. This specific area has a lot of different settings that you guys can play with. Now, aim training is going to be crucial in any specific aspect when we're talking about mechanics, whether that be recoil control, peeking, swinging, whatever that ends up looking like. Now here I'm just, controlling the recoil. It doesn't have to be perfect. You guys should not be looking for this, ultimate flawless, recoil control where it's just a single dot. Obviously that would be ideal, but it's never going to be that necessary when you're actually playing the game. And again, I'm doing the same training here, just warming up, making sure that I'm hitting my headshots, getting comfortable with whatever guns that I'm deciding that I want to use, stuff like that. You can also test your quick peeks here and any other mechanics that you guys want, but aim training is going to be the most important thing that you guys could possibly do to improve. Consistency is key. I would say warming up and training your aim every single day for 30 minutes is going to be better than training your aim for one day for 5 hours, let's say. Now, here I'm also, warming up my quick peeks. You guys can test this out however you want. I usually just go behind this little banner right here. You can also change your head placement so you guys can crouch and see how that feels with the different move speed. That and just get as consistent as possible. And utilizing every single tool you really can here. That way you guys are getting the most realistic experience, I would argue. Not only that, but again, just the most consistent. It's important that you guys are doing this. I really can't stress it enough. If you guys truly want to see improvement, I would say this and sensitivity take the top spots for sure. Now, when it comes to how to swing, there's a lot of things that we need to talk about. First is going to be something called angle advantage. Now, angle advantage is where you're not going to be able to see your player, or vice versa, they won't be able to see you, but you will be able to see them. Here's an example where Doc is pressed up against the door, but I'm not, and I'm able to see his head. He is shooting as far to the right of that door as he possibly can, and I can see his head, and there's no discrepancies. Another difference is going to be chopping the angle. So as you guys are peeking, just like I am, you guys are going to be checking all of the common areas while just swinging back and forth, not to peek out too much. Another way to swing angles is by wide swinging. Now, wide swinging is going to be usually when you have a lot of info or you're confident in where they are in their position. So you're just going to go straight for them just like I did. As you can see, I'm focused straight on them. I know where they are already. I had no issue finding where they were and not going to waste any time. Another way to do it is quick peeking. Now, quick peeking is kind of like chopping the angle, but a little bit more complex. See, you're quick peeking, getting a little aggressive on the door, and even if they do see you, you're quick peeking back and forth. That way, they can't shoot you. It's very important to, not be able to get hit while having the option of hitting them. And I would highly recommend quick peeking once you guys kind of master the other three. Now, when to swing angles can be a very, very, very complex thing to figure out. And there's a lot of things that we need to look at in advance to swinging the angles. This can consist of pretty much anything, but we're going to cover four main topics, with number one being timing. Timing is super important because timing is going to determine when you swing, why you swing, and how you decide to swing. Number two is going to be positioning. Positioning is super important because it determines where you're going to be when you swing. Three is going to be utility and what you use while you swing. Number four is going to be situational awareness. Why are you swinging? Who's around you? What are you going to do if you cannot win that angle? Swinging, again, is a very, very complex thing to talk about and learn. And it really, really, really takes a lot of skill from a player to really understand when to swing. Now, here's an example where I'm going to sit behind this door and I'm going to swing right now only because I know where they are. I waited for the info, I figured out their position, and then I looked for their shot to figure out where their head was. I also let them run out of ammo. That way, when I swung, they had no way to face me. They had no ammo, they had nowhere to run, they were in an open area, and all of those things need to be taken into account. Now, here I'm going to show you an example of when and how to swing. I'm going to open up both of these walls right here, and I'm going to take the door and swing the Ella. She has no idea, and we're going to kind of break down how all of this happens. Now, not every gunfight is going to go like this, but in this one in specific, I opened the door to give me more options. I could have swung the breach. I could have swung the door. I then opened up the wall to create a distraction. This allows me to abuse the fact that they can't hear because of how loud an ash charge is. This also gives me the opportunity to mask my footsteps. I then took advantage of the loud sound to move in quickly into the building, as you guys can see in the clip behind. I took advantage of the loud sound to mask my own audio. That way, we could get into the building securely without giving up any sort of information on us. Now, in this footage right here, I'm going to show you guys how you can kind of counteract this play as a defender. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go through breach this time instead, and I'm already dead.
Eliminated all friendlies.
So let's break down what happened last round. The attacker decides to open up the door, giving me an area to focus on. I then hear the attacker open up the garage wall, which gives me the opportunity to push through the door because I know where his focus is. Then this allows me to know where he is and where he's looking, and then I take advantage of this and push up, again, masking my footstep and noise with the Ash Breach audio. Peeker's advantage is something that is super complex to talk about and explain and understand the effects of what it can do. So we're going to take this one slow and kind of go step by step. So here's the basics of it. 1. They can see you before you see them. This goes for gunfights and anything in between. This allows them to react faster and shoot you earlier, as well as this is affected by ping heavily. So when you get quote unquote ghosted, this is kind of what people are talking about, where they cannot see the enemy that shot them, and there's nothing you can really do about it. This next segment right here is going to be for the nerds, and we're going to get a little bit more in depth on what's actually happening behind the scenes when it comes to Peeker's advantage. In essence, what's happening is the game is updating data at different speeds depending on ping, internet connection, as well as your computer specs. Their game will update your position considering you're holding an angle, while your game is attempting to find their current location with respect to both delays. So, what that kind of means is you're sitting at an angle, the game already updated your position and you haven't moved, but they are moving. So when they swing, they'll see you first. It's super unfair, and you can kind of use angle advantage to your advantage here if you are swinging, because you already know where they are with respect to where you are. And this gives you the opportunity to kind of take a faster approach when it comes to swinging, because you already know what to expect and where to expect it from. Last but not least, we're going to talk about how to quick peek. Now, there's three options when it comes to quick peeking, and all of them are better than just wide swinging an angle. First, we're going to talk about jiggle peeking. Now, jiggle peeking is going to be strafing in one direction and then strafing in the exact opposite direction, and it's going to look a little something like this. Next, we have something called bolo peeking. Now, bolo peeking is going to be a little bit more complicated in the sense that you're going to strafe and lean at the same time in one direction, and then strafe and lean in the opposite direction, or resetting essentially, and it'll look something like this. Now, lastly, we have Shiko peeking. Shiko peeking is going to be the most complex, but the most effective. You're going to strafe, then strafe, and then lean. You'll see what I mean right here, where you're strafing and leaning, and then you're going to lean and strafe in the opposite direction with some respect to, how you decide to swing that angle. It's going to look like this when you're in game. And that's all she wrote, really. It's a pretty simple, thing once you get it down, but it can be super powerful and effective while you're in game. All in all, I really do recommend Shigo peaking over any of the other peaks. It's going to be the fastest, and you can definitely take advantage of Peeker's advantage when you're using it. It's definitely the fastest, I would argue, and gives your opponent the least amount of time to react, and it's so easy and resettable. You can do it so quickly that you can really take advantage of those tighter angles. All in all, we talked about 7 different topics on how to improve your mechanics on Rainbow Six Siege. All of them are equally important, though I would argue some are easier to figure out than others, starting with sensitivity, how fast or slow you look around in the game. This also includes your ADS sensitivity. I would take a look at that as well. Crosshair placement is important in Siege, again, because it's a one-shot headshot game and it can make gunfights way faster and way easier. Aim training is going to make your sensitivity so much more consistent and make you feel so much more confident in your aim, as well as how to peek, which is going to teach you guys what you should be doing and how to do it, when to peek, which is going to show you guys the situations you should be peeking in, as well as what's peeker's advantage, because that's something that's a super sensitive topic in Siege, as well as how to quick peek. Quick peeking, again, is such an amazing mechanic that you guys should be able to learn, and it really does change the playing field, especially in lower elo, once you guys have, a little bit slower players, I would argue. It can definitely give you the edge in a lot of the competition, especially in ranked matches. So, that's my guide on really how to get better with your aim in Siege. It's definitely a little bit more in depth than most videos, only because they don't really talk about what's going on or how to execute it. This video definitely took me a very, very long time to edit and stuff, so I'd really appreciate it if you guys, liked and subscribed and commented. Um, Kind of boosts my ego a little bit, I won't lie, but it definitely does make me want to continue doing this. Um, I would really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm going to be going over other videos talking about game sense as well as just basic stuff to help people improve in Siege. There isn't really anything that was super in depth or gave me, crystal clear examples when I used to look up these videos. So I figured if I can't find them, I might as well make them for the people that are just like how I was. So let me know how I did in the comments, and I love you guys.